Hello everyone and welcome back to Arctic Retro, and in today's episode I'm gonna take a look at this one. It's a Commodore 1571 floppy disk drive. If you like those scenic clips that I have in the beginning of every video, I just want to mention that I have a little side channel called Tommy Ovesen. You should check it out. There's a lot more there with a bit of longer videos about the landscape and scenery around the place where I live. So check it out. I'll link to it in the description. This video is sponsored by PCBWay, and if you need to have produced some PCBs yourself, like I do regularly, then you should visit PCBWay.com. If you visit PCBWay.com, you can get an instant quote on very good quality PCBs for affordable prices. And if you have advanced needs for PCB manufacturing, then check out their advanced PCB options at PCBWay.com. I recently made a video where I went through a couple of old Commodore floppy disk drives, 1541s and 1571 internal one. However, I never had an 1571. I haven't even seen one before now, and it's quite huge compared to the 1541, I think. So I got this from a friend, Ronnie, and he wants me to fix it because it doesn't work. So we'll see about that, if I can figure out what's wrong with it. Now, before I start, I just want to clear up a little mistake I made, or a misunderstanding. In the video where I did some diagnostics testings on all those 1541s and 1571 drives, I actually didn't quite understand, I think, or I misunderstood how the alignment tool actually worked, and thus I just formatted a floppy disk in the drive and then did the alignment test afterwards. Of course, that's completely wrong. You actually need to use a floppy that has been formatted in a well-aligned drive in order to test the alignment on another drive, of course. So if you just format a floppy inside a drive that's misaligned, of course it will be formatted, but then it's formatted misaligned and might not work in another drive. So I just wanted to clear up that misunderstanding, and now I'm gonna do a proper alignment check on this drive with this original Gauntlet game that I know is working, and this disk should then have been written by an aligned drive. And I'm using the same 1541 diag cartridge. So now let's run the alignment check and see what the result is. Of course, if you format a floppy disk inside this drive, then the alignment check will be almost perfect. So just let it run through. Yeah, so this looks very good. Then it's 100% on track on every track. Let's check this one then. I think this had some issues. Yes, and as you can see, this drive has some issues. It doesn't read the correct track back. It is off by one, except for the first one, and yeah, this one was not on track completely. So I'm gonna check this out and see if we can adjust a little bit on it. So the floppy drive head moves back and forth one track at a time, and you can actually push it, and it is driven by this stepper motor one track at a time, and when it gets misaligned, then the stepper motor does not move the drive head exactly where it should, and that can be adjusted by unscrewing one of these screws or both, and just slightly move the stepper motor a little bit, and then check to see if the alignment is better. So I'll try that now. So now that screw is loose, and I'm gonna just ever so slightly try and reposition that band and then fasten the screw again. Then it's just a matter of trying again and see if it's any better. No, it's still off by one track, so no need to continue. Trying to adjust a little bit more. Now it seems a little bit better, at least the half tracks or between tracks, and track 18 went from 81 to 87. I'm not really sure why it's off by one whole track, and that seems a little bit odd. Maybe this drive isn't 100% compatible since it's a cloned drive. And the game does not load, so there's obviously something wrong with this drive. Anyway, in theory, that's how you can align a drive. Maybe this is just worn out and I can't simply adjust it anymore, and I'll leave it with that. This was not a video about aligning floppy drives. Back to the actual content of this video. I hooked it up now to my Commodore 64. Let's check it out and see how the status is. So this might be a short video, or it might be a long video where I never find out what's wrong. We'll see. Just gonna turn on the computer and yeah, check it out. So it starts and the drive light turns on and off. That is a good sign. That means it's initialized. Same thing happens when you turn on the Commodore. It initializes again. That might suggest that at least the CPU and the ROMs are working correctly. So let's see if we can load the directory now. I have no idea what's actually wrong with it, or what the owner detected as error, but we'll see. Okay, so it loads. Yeah, seems to be working to me. Let's try and load the game. And that loaded just fine. Let's run a little check on this one. Alignment check first. Looks fine to me. Everything good there. However, this was Commodore's high-end floppy disk drive, and it is in fact double-sided and double density, and was actually meant for the Commodore 128. So I'll get out my 128 and see if we can test it a little bit on that machine. Here is my Commodore 128. Nice looking machine, working condition. Also now talk to the owner of the 1571, and the theory now is that he has tested with high density floppy disks, and those are supposedly difficult to get to use on this drive. Of course, it's only a double density floppy disk drive, so it had problems with formatting his high density floppy disks. Anyway, that doesn't stop me from making a video about this floppy disk drive. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit, do a little bit of restoration work on it, and see if we can test the features that it has on a Commodore 128. First of all, just display the directory. The Commodore 128 Basic has some additional disk operation commands like directory, and that worked, of course. I also got a couple of Commodore 128. These are double density diskettes, and yeah, one is CPM and the other one is a test slash demo diskette with C128 DOS shell. Let's try the last one. Let's see what's on that. Yeah, it got different things. GEOS, I'm not really sure if this diskette works or not. No, I couldn't load anything from that floppy disk. Maybe it's faulty. Well, let's see now if it can auto boot from this CPM diskette. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120 Yeah, that booted pretty quickly. There's not much on that diskette except for the CPM command line and the format command. Now I got a box of double-sided, double-density floppy disks, and I'm gonna try and format a new one here and see if we can format it as double-sided. The command for formatting a disk in C128 mode is header. And then you specify some parameters. Let's call it test1. And then you need the ID, I99 for example, and then you must enter the device ID, and that is D0 for floppy disk 0. Are you sure? Yes. So now it's formatting away. And there it turned back and started over again on the other side, so now it's formatting both sides. Completed. Let's check the directory now. Okay, so now we see we have 1328 blocks free, which is the double of what you normally see on a Commodore 64 with a 1541 floppy disk drive. If we check this other floppy disk that's formatted for only one side, we can see that's, yeah, how much is that? Gonna sum that up. So that's 658 blocks in use and 6 blocks free, so that means 664 then. I went to simmers.net and I actually found that 1571 demo diskette, and I just downloaded it. So I'm gonna try and actually write it to that new disk. I have this XUM 1541 device that you can hook up to your PC, and then you can actually transfer data to a real floppy drive from Windows like I'm doing now. And this is just connected via the regular serial cable over to the 1571 here. So first I'm just gonna issue the format command. Yeah, that starts formatting very quickly. Yeah, that was quick, but it was only single-sided formatting. So now I'm gonna copy that D64 image of the 1571 demo from the file on my computer to the drive 8. Actually, I typed it the wrong way. It's in one word, 1571 demo.8. 1571 demo.d64 to 8. Yeah, now it's working. And this program can actually also copy to and from a D71 image. That's a double-sided floppy disk image for the 1571. I'll see if I find some D71 images. Alright, so that completed. Let's test that disk now in the Commodore 128. Alright, look at that. Now it actually auto boots from that diskette. Booting C128 DOS shell. Okay, DOS shell on F1 key. Let's try that. Okay, so there's some utilities here. Run a program, format a disk, copy files. So let's insert another disk and see what's happening when we try and copy it. Copy a disk. Programs in memory will be destroyed. Okay, that's all right. Okay, so now it's copying, but it's not particularly fast compared to those fast copy programs. It's very slow. Alright, so you get the point. Alright, now let's try and copy a D71 image. And yeah, I think this is the right command for that. D64 copy with some additional properties. And yeah, let's see now. I found Turbo Pascal D71. and I'm now copying it to device 8. Yeah, so there's the image loaded in DIR-master, and it's a CPM disk. However, it gives me write errors, so I'm not really sure why, but let's see if this completes. Not looking good. So I went to csdb.dk and I found the Ultima 4 Gold, and this one has a D71 version. So I unpacked it here, and it's for u4gold.d71, and it is 342 kilobytes, so that's more than one side on a regular diskette. Doesn't want to work. Strange. Need to format it first, but how do I format on double-sided format here? Not really sure. Yeah, it formats at least. So it seems to format just one side after all. Alright, so I'm formatting on the C128 instead. That will give us a double-sided format. Okay. Okay, finally we're able to write this D71 image. So it takes every other side. Alright, that completed successfully. 1366 blocks copied. Let's check the result then. Does it auto boot right into the game? Nope. So there it is. It's Ultima. Okay. Just broke, but I guess this is a game for the C64 mode. There we go. Ultima 4, cracked by Major Volp 2006. So that worked. We loaded a game image from a D71 file over to a real floppy and ran it from the real floppy. Okay, so that's enough with fiddling around with floppy disks and different formats and everything. Let's take a look at the inside of this drive now. Okay, let's open up this bad boy. I'm not gonna do anything radical to it. I'm just curious to peek inside and yeah, do a little cleaning if necessary. There you go. All right, that's how it looks inside. Yeah, obviously the power supply, it is its own module, and yeah, just this cover over here. All right, it looks very clean, almost spotless. A little bit of soot or what it is, something black, yeah. And there's of course a little bit of dust inside the whole case, but nothing major. So I just want to take off the front part here. And I don't want to break anything because this isn't my drive, so better not destroy it then. Usually you can just pull these handles right out, but this one was a little bit more stubborn. Yeah, it comes out. That's so far. I'm gonna disassemble this. I'm gonna leave the bottom case. I'm just gonna blow away some dust and then take the other plastic parts. down to the sink and clean them really good. So now the top case at least looks a lot better. Just a few black spots. I don't know if that comes off easily. Yes, it does. Alright, so now I'm gonna clean a little bit inside the mechanism here. Not much to do, in fact. Just gonna gently clean the drive heads, and on this, of course, there are two. And I took it out before and blew away all the dust. It's really easy with those dust off spray, air on a spray, and yeah, it says for gamers. That's nice. I just spray with a little alcohol here and there and then try and mop up any dirt. Yeah, there is a little bit, as you can see. However, the most important things to clean are those drive rails, those long metal rods that goes below, and the drive head is sliding back and forth on that. You can move it and it should move easily. And on this, those are really clean, so not much need to clean there. Finally, I want to clean the drive heads, and to get easier access, I just close it. Then I use a clean cotton swab or Q-tips and with some alcohol, and then I try and gently lift it and clean the white and black drive head, the bottom one and the top one. Then after cleaning, I just turn it around to the clean side and swipe once more. You can of course use a cleaning floppy diskette, probably just as good. I also want to do a little bit of lubrication on the moving parts. For example, this lever here, and also onto the rails for the head, so that they slide really easy, just using a little bit of silicone grease. And as you use the drive, this will of course distribute itself around. A little bit here, that's a moving part. And also here is a little moving part with friction plastics there. Probably not necessary, but I'll do it anyway. And yeah, I basically think that's it. Okay, I think everything looks extremely nice now, so I'm gonna assemble the drive now and test it a little bit more. Of course, one additional thing I could do with this is to replace the electrolyte capacitors. However, I don't think I'm gonna do that now. It's not worth the risk, I think. This is such a valuable drive and not mine. However, if any problem should arise at a later stage, it might be a good idea to replace the caps. I couldn't see anything wrong with the caps as they are now, so I'll leave it with that. Finally, I'm gonna clean the underside. It was a little bit dirty as well. Just using a little IPA to wipe it off. Alright, look at that. As good as new. And even the little plastic over the shield is still on. So it will be up to the owner and remove that plastic wrap. Also see a little slight yellowing on the edge here. So maybe a couple of hours in the sun would help against that. Okay, let's test, see if I did something wrong. And I'm inserting the CPM diskette because I actually was able to copy that Turbo Pascal D71 image after all, after a little bit of formatting and fiddling around. So I'm gonna boot into CPM first. Yeah, it's booting. We're in CPM and I'm gonna insert the Turbo Pascal diskette, see if I can load it. That would be the first time ever actually that I tried Turbo Pascal for CPM on a C128. So there's Turbo. So that actually worked after all to copy a CPM formatted D71 image. And the command to start is Turbo if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, look at that. Turbo Pascal system, copyright 1983 by Borland. And yeah, I actually learned to program in Turbo Pascal back in the day on a PC in DOS actually, but it's the same. So include error messages? No. Okay, so now we can actually make a small program. We only have 28k bytes free, but that's more than enough to write small programs for this machine. But I'm not going to do that now. Then I have to read up on on Pascal and Turbo Pascal, and that's beyond the scope of this video. Maybe I'll make another video sometime later with Turbo Pascal on the C128. Now I actually have a floppy disk that I can use on my 128D then. And I'm even gonna write protect it with this label that was in the box to cover up that notch, and that means this is now write protected. Now this drive seems to be working perfectly fine. However, I still want to run some diagnostics, and I was thinking using this 1541 diagnostics cartridge that you saw in my previous video where I tested a lot of drives, and this works on the C128. However, then it is in the C64 mode, of course. But we should still be able to run some of the tests, and I'm interested in the alignment check. It will of course only check the alignment on one side, but I'm not really sure if there's any difference between the two heads. There might be. So I'm actually going to insert the Gauntlet original floppy again and run an alignment check on this drive. Yeah, and look at that. That seems to be a very nice result. 100 on track, 100% on track all the way. We'll see to the end. Yeah, all good there. Well, let's see the speed check then. Yeah, look at that. Dead on exactly 300 RPM. There's actually one final thing I want to test with this. I said that the owner, Ronnie, he couldn't get it to work and he could not format the floppy disks that he had. And the idea was that that was because it was HD floppies, and he actually just sent me the disks that he got, and these are, yeah, new old stock. So let's see now if that works here. Using the header command to format. Yes. Yes, and look at that. It actually failed. Bad disk error. So what is actually the physical differences between HD floppy and double density? And yeah, the HD has this white ring. So yeah, it is probably a little bit thicker there. I tried several of the disks and they all came out with bad disk errors, so now we know that HD diskettes cannot be used with this drive at least. So now I use the diagnostics cartridge and I use the fast format option, and yeah, that seems to complete. Let's see now if we take an alignment check. Yeah, it seems to be alright, sort of. Except for track 1, a little bit off. I'm gonna run the performance test just to see what happens. And that one failed, so yeah. As you can see, I was actually able to get the directory now after the fast format, but I wouldn't trust this floppy at all. Alright, that was it for this video. Hope it was a little bit interesting and not too boring. A very nice floppy disk drive for the Commodore machines, especially if you have a Commodore 128. So I would actually like to have one of those. I haven't found one yet, but still searching. Alright, so I just want to say thanks for watching, and special thanks to my patrons, and please hit that subscribe and the like button. Thank you, bye bye.